Welcome. My name is Gillian Samuel. I work with the McPin Foundation, a mental health research charity. We believe research is done best when it involves people with relevant lived experience that relates to the research being done. For several years, I have been bringing my lived experience expertise into the NIHR School for Public Health Research Public Mental Health Programme. My role evolved to include coordinating public involvement across the entire programme. In 2024, a Charter for Public Involvement and Engagement, known as PI&E, was co-created and launched. This sets out best practice for fully embedding PI&E into research and is now available in a variety of formats. Although the Charter was originally developed as part of the Public Mental Health Programme, known as PMH, it is now hoped that it will be used alongside all its available resources more widely across multiple themes and research areas. Today you will be taking part in the Spin the Charter activity-based digital training, which aims to raise your awareness of the PI&E Charter, deepen your knowledge of best practice in PI&E, embed PI&E thinking in research practice, and keep the Charter visible and alive. The session will run for 45 minutes. To take part, you can choose to download the PowerPoint copy of the slides and write directly onto the slide activities. You will also need to have a pen and paper to hand. The workshop will begin by watching the 3.5-minute Charter video, where you will become familiar with the 12 key points. We will then proceed to spin the Charter. A series of short interactivities will follow related to the segment on which the Charter lands. Please note you can take part in the activities by writing directly onto your downloaded copy of the slides, or feel free to use your pen and paper instead. The training will focus on 8 key points of the Charter. Towards the end, there will be 2 short video clip vignettes which illustrate how the Charter principles have been embedded into research practice. Finally, if you are interested in how to develop and disseminate a Charter, we have a section dedicated to this. To end, you will be invited to personally reflect on the workshop by considering the 4 questions listed. So let's begin.
Members of the school's public mental health program, together with public partners, have co-created a charter for public involvement and engagement. The charter sets out best practice for fully embedding public involvement and engagement into research and comprises of 12 guiding principles.
1. Purpose: to outline our co-developed principles for public involvement and engagement. 2. Definition of public involvement. Public involvement refers to actively involving individuals with lived experience of mental health issues to shape the design, delivery, and the dissemination of the public mental health program. 3. Definition of public engagement. Public engagement uses a range of activities to communicate and share information about research with the public. 4. Guiding principles. NIHR's guidance on public involvement and engagement standards, inclusive opportunities, working together, support and learning, communications, impact, governance. 5. Our values and principles. Respect, collaboration, transparency, diversity and inclusion. 6. Roles and responsibilities. These are clearly defined both for researchers and practitioners or public partners. 7. Our ambition: to learn, work together safely, power share, expand the program. 8. Resources: to allocate necessary resources for public involvement activities, we aim to achieve consistency, suggesting the NIHR reimbursement rate of £25 per hour. 9. Sharing challenges: communicate to researchers, public partners, clear pathways to discuss challenges within the project team via the Public Involvement and Engagement Coordinator. 10. Capturing impact: an impact log has been co-created for all public mental health research projects to be completed by the academic lead after each piece of public involvement and engagement work. 11. Feedback and continuous learning: mechanisms will be established to capture the experiences of public partners and academics. 12. Review and revision: this charter will be reviewed annually to ensure its relevance and effectiveness. For more information, please access the full charter.
Regarding purpose, which is to outline our co-developed principles for public involvement and engagement in the NIHR SPHR Public Mental Health Research Programme. We want to ensure the public's perspectives are integral to the research, decision-making processes and programme outcomes. These principles will be embedded consistently into research projects. Take 5 minutes to reflect and write down on paper your thoughts on what it means for the public's perspectives to be embedded into the research process. Can you think of an example of when this has taken place or when it hasn't? Were there challenges? Regarding definition of public engagement can be defined as using a range of activities to communicate and share information about research with the public. This can include one-off discussions, raising awareness via the media and sharing research findings. On PowerPoint or with pen and paper, take 10 minutes to think of 4 creative ways in which information about research could be shared with the public. Add these ideas into each of the boxes on PowerPoint or write down on paper. Regarding sharing challenges, communicate to researchers or public partners clear pathways to discuss challenges within the project team. Read the challenges below and write notes answering the questions. Regarding definition of public involvement refers to actively involving individuals with lived experience of the topic being studied, their families, carers, and the wider public as partners and valued team members in shaping the design, delivery, and dissemination of the NIHR SPHR programme. On the PowerPoint or with a pen and paper, take 5 minutes to draw a picture or diagram which demonstrates public partners as valued team members in shaping the design, delivery, and/or dissemination of research. Regarding our values and principles, these include respect, collaboration, transparency, and diversity and inclusion. On PowerPoint or paper, take 10 minutes to draw a space which would be the ideal meeting place in which collaborative research could take place. Consider equality, diversity, and inclusion in the process. Write down on the PowerPoint or on paper practical examples of how a collaborative partnership can be established. Regarding resources, the SPHR programme will allocate necessary resources to facilitate public involvement and engagement activities. Payments for PI&E will be clarified at the start of an involvement opportunity administered using NIHR guidance. There is no nationally recommended rate of payment for PI&E activities. However, we aim to achieve consistency within the SPHR research programmes, so suggest the NIHR reimbursement rate of £27.50 per hour. This is as of 2026. Please check for any new announcements. Research teams will actively work towards finding ways to include people with diverse needs or restrictions on receiving payment for their input. Read the 2 budget-related questions and write ideas in the boxes, or you can do this on paper. Regarding capturing impact, an impact tracking tool is in use for all NIHR SPHR research projects. This tracker is designed to help researchers collectively monitor, record, and understand the impact of public involvement and engagement across all SPHR programs and projects. By capturing project-level PI&E activity and outcomes during and at the end of the project, they will be able to evidence the value and influence of PI&E, share good practice across SPHR, identify areas where additional support or resources may be needed. Who is asked to complete it? Each research project team is asked to complete the tracker. The responsibility for completing can be shared across the team, but one named person should ensure it is submitted. How is the tracker completed? Project details. It starts by filling in basic information, project name, program, and record keepers. PI&E activities. Then the date and description of key PI&E activities that have taken place are entered, such as an advisory group made up of parents and carers who met for 2 hours and reviewed the content of a project proposal. Feedback loops. These capture how outcomes of the PI&E activities have been communicated back to contributors and stakeholders, for example, via quarterly meetings or email updates. Impact and influence. Here includes descriptions of any tangible or observed impact on project design, delivery, outcomes, or dissemination. In other words, what has changed as a result of the activity? For example, as a result, the project proposal was sent to local community organisations for their comment. Reflections. This space is available to note lessons learned, challenges, or examples of good practice that may benefit others. For example, this may include decisions to explore ways of being more inclusive across a range of sectors, such as age and ethnicity, going forward. Regarding guiding principles, these include inclusive opportunities, working together, support and learning, communications, impact, and governance. On PowerPoint, there are 6 cards. Each one has a named guiding principle. Write on each card the first word that comes to mind in relation to each guiding principle. Continue until all the cards have been completed. So what came up for you? How can the guidelines be put into practice in your work? Are there challenges? Write notes on the PowerPoint or on paper. The PI&E Charter, the full journey. How did the Charter come into being? The draft was developed collaboratively over several months. Many people from across the public mental health programme, including project leads and summer interns, became involved to help shape the design and its content. A first public partner planning group meeting took place in October 2023. We edited the draft and came back together to discuss, unpack and fine-tune the details. Once complete, we were given the opportunity to promote the Charter across the NIHR School for Public Health. We contributed to the news article by offering quotes on what it had been like to be involved in creating the Charter. We then launched the Charter at the Public Mental Health Symposium in 2024. To increase accessibility, we further designed a short video version. To increase awareness and adoption of the Charter, we created an interactive training which included the novel Spinning Wheel to engage the audience and encourage participation. We piloted the Spin the Wheel Charter training to both online and in-person groups. We used feedback to develop this online training video, now available to anyone interested in learning about best practice in PI&E. Translating the Charter to practice. Here we have researchers Hannah Robinson, Lizzie Mitchell and Joe Hewling, talking about how they have applied the Charter in practice.
Hi, my name is Hannah Robinson, and I am an NIHR-funded pre-doctoral fellow at the University of Bristol. I facilitate the public involvement sessions for the 4S study, which is funded by the School for Public Health Research's Public Mental Health Programme. This project looks at self-harm and suicide prevention and support after a suicide in education and youth organisation settings. Throughout this project, we have worked with an advisory group of young people with lived experience of self-harm and or suicidal thoughts.
Hi, my name is Lizzie Mitchell. I'm a lived experience peer researcher who supports with advisory group sessions for the 4S study. One clear area where their involvement made a real difference was in the focus groups we ran with young people as participants. Over several sessions, advisory group members helped shape the topic guide by suggesting clearer and more sensitive wording and advising on the order of the questions, such as to start with questions around general mental health support. They also suggested practical ways to make the focus groups feel safe and comfortable, such as the provision of fidget toys for participants and other considerations, such as around lighting and privacy.
Young people who took part in these focus groups told us they felt comfortable and supported, and their experiences were directly shaped by the advisory group's input. We were reassured to learn that our project reflects best practice when it comes to public involvement and engagement, as illustrated through several of the PI&E Charter's key points, such as working together with respect, valuing lived experience, offering inclusive and flexible opportunities, and being transparent about how people's input has shaped the work. The PI&E Charter has helped make the advisory group's involvement on their 4S study be meaningful and impactful, and it's a really helpful framework to refer to at any point in a project.
Hi, I'm Joe Hewlin, a researcher from the University of Sheffield, and I've recently been working on a School for Public Health research project on school-wide approaches to mental health. Part of this work included working with young people, parents and teachers to think about why these approaches are successful or not. And many of the activities that we undertook were informed by the values and principles outlined in the School for Public Health Research, Public Involvement and Engagement Charter. One principle that informed our work was collaboration and communication, and we worked together with our expert by experience panel to establish preferred and inclusive ways of working. So, for example, sending materials well in advance of meetings and also offering meetings outside of normal working hours. Impact was another one of the Charter principles which became embedded in our practice, and we found that detailing our activities on the online impact log was a really useful way of monitoring and reflecting on how public involvement had shaped the work.
Personal reflections. To end, do take some time to consider answering the following questions. What key insight changed your thinking around public involvement and engagement? How might you apply what you have learned? What challenged you the most and why? And name one important takeaway. Do note my contact details at the bottom of the screen. Thank you.